So if the husband was going in exile, then wife also followed. She did not stay at home and watch TV. Yes, she could have refused because she was also the daughter of a king. She has never walked in the forest. She must have gone sometimes forest stroll, but not walking barefoot. So, but she said that wherever my husband will go, I will go with him. And then his younger brother Lakshman, who was there, the other two brothers were not present that day. They had gone to Keka, their mother's place. So Lakshman, he also followed. He says, I cannot, if my elder brother is going, then I will also go. So this was actually the system in Vedic culture, that there was a joint family and there was a head of the family and everybody lived under his protection, guidance, support and order. So because Lord Ram was the eldest brother, then the younger brother also said that if you are not going to become the king and you are going to forest, then I will come with you to help you if there is any problem, because living in forest is not easy. You can go for picnic, but if you have to go and live there, then it is different. Especially if you are living in palace and suddenly you go to the forest. In the palace they have servants for everything, and in the forest they have to find their own food, and there is no bed, no bathroom. So Lakshman, he went along with him. Therefore he says, Tishtan Vanam Sadaita Anuja Avivesha, along with his wife and younger brother. Yasmin Virudhya Dashakandhara Arti Marachat. And when he was in forest, then it was not very easy for him, because first of all they were very tender, they were not used to sleeping on the ground. And then forest is forest, all kinds of ferocious animals. And then more problems came, that his wife was kidnapped. Kidnapping is a very old profession. And she was kidnapped by Ravana, probably the first kidnapper in the history. So he set a bad trend. And people take bad example. Actually they should have taken the example that he kidnapped Sita and he was killed. So nobody should do kidnapping. But instead, so much kidnapping going on. Recently there was one dacoit, he was killed about 10 days ago. In Madhya Pradesh there is one particular area called Chambal, and this area is forest area. There is one river which flows through it, and it is very peculiar area. The land is not flat there. This is up, down, up, down. So it's very famous for dacoits, because once they enter it, and you cannot cultivate this land, then it's very difficult to find, because once it goes into the other side, then you don't know where he has gone. And then if you try to search him, police goes, then they may be hiding there and kill him. So this Chambal area is very famous for dacoits. They live there, and now their best profession is that they kidnap. And because now facility of mobiles is there, and then they call, or they make this person who has been kidnapped to call their house or relatives that I am here. So this dacoit, his name was Jagjivan Parihar. He made a business out of it. Usually these dacoits, they go and they kidnap big people themselves. But what he was doing, that he was living in Chambal, and he says, I am not going to kidnap. He was outsourcing kidnapping. So he will say that anyone who kidnaps, they can come and sell that person to me, and I will give them money, and then he will demand bigger money because everybody is afraid of him. So even small people, they started kidnapping. Just kidnap and go and sell it to him for whatever, 1 lakh, 5 lakhs. And then he will demand heavy ransom depending on what kind of the person is. So kidnapping was started by Ravana. And of course for him the reason was different. He was not kidnapping for money. People always improvise. His purpose was different. Later on people got the idea. He had a sister whose name was Shurpanakha. She had nails. These days women put their false nails and they are big ones. She had big nails naturally. And Shurpa is one instrument which is used in the villages to winnow wheat or something, to remove garbage. They put it in, then they shake it like that. So she was known as Shurpanakha because her nails were like shurp, big. And she was not very beautiful. But one day she saw Lord Ramchandra in the forest. She came. Ravana was ruling in Sri Lanka and they were demons, they had the power, they could fly. So she came to India and she was wandering in the forest and saw Lord Ramchandra, who was very, very beautiful. He is extremely beautiful. So she got attracted to him. And then she turned herself into a very beautiful woman and said that you marry me. I love you. So love marriage. So Lord Ramchandra is different from Krishna. If there was Krishna, he would have not minded this. He would have been happy. But Lord Ramchandra is ek patni vrata. He doesn't want more than one wife. So he says that, oh, I'm already married. So he says, so what, you are Kshatriya, you can have 2 wives. He says, no, I don't want to have 2 wives. So he sent her that you go to my brother, he does not have a wife, maybe he can marry. So she went to Lakshman, and then Lakshman said that I cannot marry because I am a brahmachari and I have taken, of course he was already married, but said I have taken a vow of brahmacharya, celibacy, because I am serving them. So he refused. Then she came back to Lord Ramchandra, and back and forth they shuffled her. So finally Lord Lakshman, he became irritated and he did something horrible which he should not have done. He cut off her nose. Now you can imagine cutting off the nose of a woman, and that also a young woman. Now who is going to marry her? In those days probably they didn't have an operation to fix it back. So she was very demoralized, depressed, and went and complained to Ravan, who was a very ferocious demon and powerful. So when Ravana heard this, he became very angry, that how dare somebody can deface his sister. So he sent 2 of his brothers, Khar and Dusan, with some 40,000 demons to go and kill these 2 brothers. But when they came and fought, then Lord Ram and Lakshman, they snatched everybody and killed Khardushan. So then Ram realized that these people are not ordinary, they are some powerful people. So he said that I am going to torment them. And then he dressed as a sannyasi. If you want to play trick, then become a sadhu. If you you play tricks in a normal dress, people will say you are a magician. And if you play trick when you put on the dress of a sadhu or a sannyasi, then people think you have mystic powers. So there are some sadhus who do that. They don't have any powers. They know some magical tricks, but because they put on the robes, people believe that they must have some power. So Ravana, he dressed as a sannyasi, but how could he kidnap? Because the wife is with them, 2 men, they are protecting. So he used one of his maternal uncle, whose name was Marichi, and he asked him that you please become a golden deer and start wandering in the forest. And when Sita will see you, then she will immediately ask her husband to get this deer, because women, they like gold very much. This is one of their weak points. Even if it is a golden deer, it's something which doesn't exist in history. Nobody has seen a golden deer. But it has to be golden, no problem what it is. So this Marich, he has already heard that Khardusan had been killed by these 2 ascetics living in the forest. So he was scared to death. But Ravan said that if you don't do this, I will kill you. So he said that I am damned. If I do it, I am damned. If I don't do it, I am damned. He says, better I get killed by Lord Ram than this rascal Ravan. So he decided to become a deer. And then he wandered in front of Sita, and as soon as Sita saw, then she was immediately charmed by the deer. And she asked Lord Rama that please catch this deer for me. So Lord Ramchandra went, but this deer, of course, it was a decoy. So he immediately slipped into the forest, and then Lord Ramchandra followed him. And it took a long time, and then what happened that Lord Ramchandra hit him with the arrow, and when he died, he also played a trick. He, while dying, this Marichi, because he was actually a demon also, he has become a deer, so he came back to his original form, and when he was dying, he shouted or he cried out, "Oh Lakshman!" and in the voice of Lord Ram. So when Sita heard it, she thought that some problem has come on her husband. So she immediately said to Lakshman that please go and help your brother, I think he is in trouble. And Lakshman knew that there can be no trouble to Lord Ramchandra, and he already sensed that some problem is there, so he didn't want to go. He said that if I go, then who is going to protect you? So Sita said that no, because as a woman she is also worried about the husband, so she was also right. And Lakshman, knowing the power of Lord Ramchandra, he didn't want to leave Sita behind. So there was an argument. Then finally Sita became angry, and she said that now because he is in trouble and maybe something bad has happened and your mind is on me, that you want to have relation with me, that's why you are not going. You will be happy that if my husband dies. So this of course was too much for Lakshman, who was so devoted to them. So when she said like this, he said, okay, if that is the case, I go, but I know you will be in trouble. And she, as a woman, kept on saying that, no, you are having some deviant thoughts, and that's why I don't want to go. So Lakshman left, but he said that I am going to put a line in front of the hut in which they were living, and don't step out of it. If you stay inside this, you are safe because nobody can cross this line. and if you cross out of it, then you can be in danger. So then he left. These days one company has made one chalk, and that chalk is called Lakshman Rekha. Rekha means line, and Lakshman means one who draw. Lakshman Rekha. So this is to keep the ants away. They've given such a nice name. So if you draw it, the ants don't cross it. Indians are good in giving names. So then he also left in search, and that is the time when Ravana came, who was hiding behind the bush as a sannyasi, and he came and he asked for the alms. So Sita came out and she wanted to give the alms, but as soon as Ravana was crossing this line, he got a shock, 11,000 volt. So he was thrown back. And he said that if you want to give me alms, then you have to come out of this. Otherwise you refuse me. Now in India it is a custom that householders, they never refuse a sannyasi if he comes to beg something. Like in Thailand, monks go begging, then they are not refused. Everybody gives happily. So then Sita, because she was a chaste woman, she didn't want to send this sannyasi away, so-called sannyasi. So she came out and gave, and then immediately Ravana got the chance to kidnap her. And then he flew away in his Puspak Viman. He had an aeroplane. People think that aeroplanes were designed only now, but the aeroplanes existed before also. Even his aeroplane was custom made. It had a name. It was called Puspaka. I recently got one book. It is called Viman Shastra, and there are 37 types of aeroplanes described in it. There are sutras and commentary on them and how they were manufactured. So that means that aeroplanes existed, so he took her away. And then Lakshman went in search of Lord Ram, and he saw Lord Ram who was coming with the deer. And he said, "Why have you come? Where is Sita?" So he says, "I came to help you." He says, "What do you mean you came to help me? I am just hunting a deer. What help do I need?" He says, "No, Sita said that you are in trouble." So then Lord Ram was also angry at him. "Why did you leave her?" And as they were fearing, when they came back, and Sita was gone from them. So that is the story which is mentioned here. Yasmin viruddha skandhar arti marach. This Ravan is called Daskandhara because he is supposed to have 10 heads. He says this he did because he wanted arti, trouble. Because if you kidnap, you are asking for trouble, problem. And then Yasma adadu adiruda ubayanga vepo margam sapadyaripuram haravad diksho dure suhin matitora susena drishtya tatapyamanam karoga nakrachakra. So it took long time for them to, there's a whole story, of course, one has to read Ramayana. We have a professor here from Thailand. He is translating Ramcharitmanas into Thai language. So it's a very beautiful epic. There are two epics in India, Ramayana and Mahabharata. Ramayana was originally written by sage Valmiki in Sanskrit, containing 24,000 slokas, and there are 7 kandas. But there is one which was written about, I think 500 years ago, by Tulsi Das. and he wrote this in Bhojpuri language, and that is called Ramcharitmanas. So now Ramcharitmanas has become more popular than Valmiki Ramayana. Yesterday whole night this mic was going on reciting this Ramcharitmanas. That is another tradition now. Whenever there is some occasion, then people recite this whole Ramcharitmanas. It is made in couplets. Like in Sanskrit we have slokas, and in Hindi there are dohas or sorta. So it is composed in that. They are rhyming. And people recite it on special occasions like Ramanavami. So now this Ramcharitmanas has become very, very popular, and people hardly read Valmiki Ramayana because that is in Sanskrit and this is in vernacular language which people can understand. And Ram Leela is also very popular. The pastimes of Lord Ram are enacted on stage in the villages, especially at the time of Dasara, Diwali, before Diwali. It's very popular all over India and even in Thailand. Ramayana is very popular. So the whole story is given there, that how Lord Ramchandra, then he very much felt bereaved in separation from his wife, and they search for her, and he meets Sugriv, who was the leader of monkeys, and he takes his help, and then all the monkeys, they go out like policemen searching who has kidnapped. Then they get the clue, because when Ravana was flying in the air, he met one vulture whose name was Sampati, Jatayu. And this Jatayu was actually friend of Dasrath, father of Lord Ramchandra. So when Ravana was flying, Sita was crying and calling for Lord Ramchandra, calling him Dasrath Nandan, son of Dasrath. So this Jatayu, he heard, and then he was surprised that who is taking the name of my friend. So then he understood the situation, that how this Ravana was kidnapping her. So he came and he challenged Ravana. And then there was a fight between Ravana and Jatayu. And Jatayu was very valiant, but Ravana, he cut off his wings with the sword. And then Jatayu fell down on the ground. So Lord Ramchandra, he has found him. But before he could know anything, he died. And there's a very nice story how Lord Ramchandra actually did a whole ceremony for Jatayu, treating him just like his father, because he was a friend of his father. Lord Ramchandra did not do the ceremony for his father who died in separation, but he did for the Jatayu. So then Hanuman is the one who jumped the ocean and went to Sri Lanka, and there he found out that Sita was being kept in this garden called Ashoka Vatika. Then he had a dialogue with her. He burnt Sri Lanka and came back and gave the message to Lord Ramchandra. So Lord Ramchandra, then he wanted to attack Ravan, but there was ocean in between. So he built a bridge. And now this bridge is very much in news recently, because few years ago they actually found the remnants of this bridge. It is quite amazing. Previously people were thinking that this is just a story, but now they found out the remnants of this bridge inside the ocean. Through the satellite they took photographs, and this seems to match the way which is being described in Ramayana. But for last 2-3 months I am reading in the newspaper that they want to clean this remnant of this bridge completely. I don't know for what purpose. Maybe they want to make a port there. And there are a lot of protests going on in India against it. And why they want to destroy it. I actually have photographs of this somewhere. Somebody gave me. So this shows that it's not that these stories are fake. They are just imagination of somebody. So this verse says that when Lord Ramachandra, he wanted to cross the ocean, and he went to the ocean and he said, give me the way so that I can go in the ocean, did not listen. Yasma adan udadhir ruda bhayanga vepo. Then Lord Ramachandra, he became very angry. And he was angry, then ocean came. And he told them to make the bridge. So that is what is being described in this verse. That Lord Ram was very angry, as if he was going to burn everything. Just as Lord Shiva has burnt the Tripura, the city of the demon, by his anger. Dure suhin mathito rosa sushona drishtya. And because he was feeling separation from his wife who was far away in Sri Lanka, he was very angry. His eyes were red. And then the whole ocean became as if heated by his anger. Tatapyamana makara uraga nagra chakra. And all the fish and the aquatics, alligators, they all became disturbed because of the anger. So that's being described in this verse. So these stories, they all have a teaching behind them, because Lord Ramachandra, he ran after the Marichi, and Marichi means gold. Marichi is also called Mrig Marichika. This water in the mirage, in the desert you see water, that is also called Marichika. So just as human beings, they are in this material world running after sense pleasure, thinking that this will make them happy, but they never become happy. Just as a person who is chasing the water in the mirage will never get any water and satisfy his thirst. So Lord Ramachandra was also running after this deer, which really was not the deer. And because of this, he suffered. So there is a very nice verse in Hitopdesh where it says, Ramo pilulubhe mrigaya. That nobody has ever heard that Hey Mrigam Janam. That no one has ever heard that there is a deer which is golden. But when a person's intelligence is not functioning properly, then one becomes deluded. So of course Lord Ram's intelligence is never deluded. He was performing pastime as a human being. But this is the situation with human being. And there is later on nice descriptions of his pastimes will come, where he says that he came to teach the message for humanity, that how if we become attached to material things we have to suffer. There is a very nice sloka, I don't remember that, but the meaning is that the purpose of Lord's appearance is to give education to humanity, and not just to kill demons. That he can do otherwise also. So he also gave education by his activities. There are different meanings to these pastimes of the Lord. So we'll read the commentary. Sri Rama Avatara Maha Trivi. Lord Brahma describes the avatar of Lord Ram in 3 verses. Asmasu Brahmadi Stambh Paryantesu Yah Prasadaha Tena Sumukha Iti Avatarasya Asya Kripatishayo Dyotita. So the first statement he made about Lord Rama was Asmat Prasada Sumukha, that he was very much inclined to bless us. And he comments that here us means that starting from Brahma up to the blade of grass. So this is to show that this avatar, this incarnation of Lord was very merciful avatar. He was full of compassion and grace for everybody. Kalaya Lakshmanadi Rupaya Sahe, and he came along with Lakshman, Shatrughan, Bharat. Swayam tu Kalanam Isha Puna, but he himself is the complete manifestation of the absolute reality. Therefore he is called Kalesha, means the master of Kalas. Chinmaya asmin Mahavishnu Jate Dasrate Harau iti Shrute. So as he quotes a statement from Veda, Chinmaya asmin Mahavishnu Jate Dasrate Harau, that he is Chinmaya and Mahavishnu. Nrsimha Ramakrishnesu Shadgunyam Paripuritam iti smrite. Then there is another statement from some Purana that out of all the avatars, Nrsimha, Ram and Krishna, these 3 are called Purna avatars. They are complete incarnations. Artyam Archat Nasam Prapta. So this is about Ravana, that he attained his destruction because of kidnapping Sita. Udho bhayena anga vepaha kampo yena sa udadhir yasmai margam dada. So the ocean, also there is a personified or presiding deity of the ocean. And when Lord Ram was angry, then he came out and he was trembling out of fear. He gave the path for Lord Ramchandra. Tripuram didakshor harasyaiva haripuram lankam didakshor. So just as Lord Shiva destroys Tripura, Lord Rama, he was willing to destroy Lanka. Kidrisha dure vartmana suhit sita taya nimit bhutiya mathita chubito roshastena. And what was the reason? Because he was agitated because of separation from Sita, who was far away. Because it took about 10 months to get her back after she was kidnapped. Sushona ati aruna drishtis taya atyantam tapyamanam makranam urganam nakranam chakram yasmin. And his eyes were very red because of anger. And this was disturbing to all the living beings in the ocean. So I'll stop here.
So was Sita who was attracted to the deer, right? And then just to please her, he was running after the deer. And the whole problem started from there.
So what is the moral of the story?
Yeah.
Moral of the story is that husband should not listen to wife just like that. better think before following what she is saying. If she is asking to run behind a golden deer, don't do that. Unless you don't love your wife.
The question has to be asked, why Lakshman just didn't take her with him?
Take her.
Take Sita.
Well, there was a danger, he has to fight. What she was going to do there? He wanted to keep her safe. And also when there is emergency, people don't think very clearly. They make good decisions.
Especially when their ego is being smashed.
Yeah, when he was smashed, then you cannot think at all.
If Ram stayed for 16,000 years, like he didn't have any more pastimes apart from those 14 years he spent in the forest.
Well, pastimes were, yeah, they were there. But then it was a regular life. After the demons were killed, he became the king. And yeah, still some stories are there. He also came and killed one demon, Madhu, here. That's why this place is called Mathura. And Lavanasura was here. But because he also sent his wife to forest because of that Dhobi, the washerman. Then he lived more in Satvasam. And he was really passing time. That became his pastime.
But this poor Surpanaka, I mean,
Yeah, that was not very good.
this
That is also the moral, don't cut the nose of a woman, otherwise you can lose your wife.
was a normal reaction. Was a normal reaction. He was right in reacting like this, in trying to get. He was angry for a reason.
How he was right by cutting the nose.
No, by cutting the reaction was extreme, but
This was too
Making
much
fun.
extreme.
yeah, making fun
Maybe you could have just cut off her hair.
and the nail.
Hair can grow, but cutting nose. Some time ago, there was a fight in Vrindavan between Radha Vallabh Goswamis and Radharaman Goswami. Goswami of our Sampradaya, Chaitanya Sampradaya, and Radha Vallabh Sampradaya. And the fight was that there is one book called Radha Sudhanidhi. You might have heard. So according to us, this is written by Prabodhananda Saraswati. But Radha Vallabh Sampradaya people, they say that it was written by Hitharivansh Goswami, who is the founder of their Sampradaya. And there have been a lot of fights because of this in Vrindavan. And fight means verbal fights mainly, but sometimes physical also. So once it happened that these two Goswamis, they were arguing with each other. One was saying that no, it is written by Prabodhananda Saraswati, he was from Radharaman, and the other one was from Radha Vallabh. He says no, it is written by Hitharivansh. And then they started fighting physically. And then it became so ferocious that they were on the ground going up and down and smashing each other. And then one of them, he bit off the nose of the other one and cut it completely. He won't leave it. So in India, this has become, after Shrupanka's nose was cut, it became like a saying. That means if somebody has to be, what do you call, disrespected or defamed, then you cut his nose. This is the worst thing can happen to somebody's name and fame. And I say, oh, uska to naak cut gaya. Means his nose is cut. So it has become an idiom. Not necessarily that nose is physically cut, means he lost all his importance. So sometimes they do it physically. So there is a town called Nasik in Maharashtra, I think about 3-4 hours from Bombay. So that is the place where nose was cut. Because Nasik means nose in Sanskrit. Nasika. So that's why it has a name. And close to Nasik, there is a actually place where Lord Ramchandra was staying, Panchkoti. It's still there. I went long ago. At that time it was still like a forest area, but now there's a very nice river which flows through that in Godavari. It starts from Nasik. It's also a place of Kumbh Mela. Last Kumbh Mela, not this one but previous one, it was held in Nasik. And many people died in that.
How?
Well, somebody threw money. And everybody, you have millions of people and everybody scrambling for it, so they got just squeezed to death. They were lynched. And that somebody was from this Ishwarpuri ashram. I think the still court case is going on again now. Jagannath temple.
So, and another thing, how the mind of Sita changed to tease Lakshman to go like in that.
Well, she was just, she has no other
Trying to incite him.
way to force him to go. He was not ready to go. And she knew that if she says something like this he will not be able to take. So she also knew how to play with Lakshman's mind. Because she was in panic that something has really happened to Ram. Otherwise, why he is shouting Lakshman? And Lakshman was clear in his head that nothing had happened, it's only the job of this demon. Right? Well, yesterday it came here, it was
But
going
I
on.
was feeling something here.
I also yesterday I kept on feeling and then suddenly I see it was here. And then
Yes.
He must be a devotee because he always comes for the Bhagavatam class.
And he must be here.
3-4 times I saw, I didn't find it. And every time I see something
It's
new.
so small.
We were watching him, he was up on the shelf there.
And now I was feeling something.
Catch him.
We have to catch him.
Babaji, do you know, have they, with Ioja, have they come any closer to making some decision about, you know, Ioja, the birthplace of Lord Ram, have they come closer to any decision on the temple there? It's just all locked up.
Still going on. So it's a big political issue. So no one wants to take a decision because they know that anyone who takes this decision then they are going to make Muslims angry and they lose their votes.